All right, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, I suppose. I'm glad to see everyone here, those of you that I can see. And I want to sort of welcome you. We are sort of sad that we were not able to do our regular cookies and creches on the one hand, because, you know, we don't get to see each other. We don't get to be together. We don't get to eat cookies, and I'm missing some cookies right now. And that's such a big part of what we do. But so this is going to give us a different opportunity to look at and enjoy the creches a little bit more. I want to start other than with the welcome to just let you know a little bit about how this happened and how I came to be such a collector. As most of you know, I grew up in Mexico, and Mexico has a huge tradition of setting up these really elaborate displays throughout the whole month of December of nativities. And when I say elaborate, I mean it. Just how amazingly intense this can get. These are, and I can't, there we go. These are, whoops, I need to pause this now. These are incredible displays, and mostly they're rustic, and it has all these little figurines and whatnot. And because Mexico is a culture where has a lot of craftsmen, they are very much like, I want to go back to that slide. As you can see, this one's a little bit clearer. Everybody is invited to the party, all sorts of creatures. Nothing is necessarily to scale. It's more the fun of doing it. It's that if you think of those, the other kinds of collections, there was something called Department 52 that had very interesting collections, very quaint and cheerful vignettes of cities and whatnot. It's kind of the same thing, but very, very rustic. And so I grew up, like I say, going to these markets and shopping. And putting up these kinds of stuff. You've just got piles and piles of things. And there's always this sense of abundance of where to get all of these little figurines. So I can say that I was culturally predisposed to collecting, but I didn't set out to be a collector. That didn't happen until much later. And that happened as I began to travel and to see Jesus represented in different ways. And that is the idea of having the face of Jesus represented across cultures. And so if we believe in the incarnation, that Jesus comes to the whole of humanity, then we have to see ourselves as part of the story of salvation. It doesn't begin and end in the Holy Land, in Jerusalem or in Bethlehem and those environs. Rather, it gets expressed throughout the world in very particular and sometimes peculiar ways. And so it became this sort of fascination with seeing the story of Jesus' birth represented in so many different ways, in textiles and glass and precious metals, and just how people approach the subject. And so in what I find most interesting about the nativities are the details. And I asked myself the question, what did the person who crafted the piece believed it was essential to the story? So even if the piece ends up being mass produced, and I have several that are mass produced, at some point an individual had to make a decision about what was going to be included and how, what was being said and why. And so we end up with the story being about the Holy Family, and sometimes the manger is included, and sometimes they're animals. But there's different kinds of animals depending on where in the world you happen to be. And so culture comes across in materials and embellishments, and they're all trying to tell a story. And I just find it interesting how the artists use those things that are at hand, to convey the message. So I became a collector, and a collector doesn't really have an end per se, although I no longer purchase many of the nativities, not because I don't want to, but because I have too many. Most of them are gifts. People actually have come to the church and knocked on the church door and said, here, I know you do this every year. Do you want mine? I usually take them. Most important, I don't think that people get tired of telling the story, and I don't think that people get tired of listening to this particular story. So this is this is about how that story is being told. So a couple of, I have FAQs that come up every single year. How many do you have? I don't know. A couple of years, I counted like 200, and then I stopped counting. I just couldn't quite keep track of them, because when we put them out for display, they're being unpacked at a rapid pace, and and then when we pack up, it's even faster. So I don't know. I own them all, although over the years we've had some that have been on loan. Let's see what else in terms of the FAQs. Yes, I own them all. When did I start collecting them? I can trace it back to high school. Which one is your favorite? I have several. The first one that I bought, and they'll come up, I'll tell you as they come up. How many countries are there from? I don't have that either, but today you will see nativities from at least 32 countries, but some countries are represented more than once. I have many more from Mexico and from the United States than I have from other places, obviously, because those are more available to me. Next question I usually ask, have you been to all of those countries? No, I wish. And the other question is, where do you keep them all? And that's kind of what it looks like now. I think there's a question in the chat, if you can see that. Right now, there are about 21 totes containing the nativities of all shapes and sizes. And right now, they are actually not stored at the church, which is their usual home. They are over at the Smith Baldwin house, because that's where they ended up right before COVID, when we were supposed to bring them back, and then that never happened. So we're going to start showing them to you. And one caveat, this is a collection of photographs that Dave Sika has taken over the years. So the backgrounds are going to differ from photograph to photograph. This is not the entire collection. And if you want to ask questions, I think we can take them in the chat. Yes? Yeah. So I don't know if there's a question up there. I can see it. Okay. Thank you. All righty. So let's start. One of the ways in which you end up having with hundreds of nativities is that some of them, perhaps most of them, are really, really small. And so this is just to show you the scale. This happens to be pewter set from Hallmark ornaments. They are supposed to be, there's actually, I found out, one missing. There's a trio. Somebody, again, knocked on the door and gave me, I had only the Holy Family. And then they gave me the, gave me the one with the three kings. This is the one that starts it all. This is the one that I bought when I was in high school. And as you see, it happened to be in southern Mexico, in Oaxaca, and bought that, and decided that I had to bring it with me when I left Mexico to go to college in Canada, because it was tiny. So the baby Jesus is probably 3/4 of an inch. And that's one of the things that you won't be able to tell with the pictures, because they are up close. This is another one of my absolute favorites because the person who made it literally right in front of me. It is spun glass. And as you can see the card there, baby Jesus measures 1/4 of an inch. And it is, you can usually only really see it through a looking glass, which is how we have it set up for the display. This is, again, you know, they're all favorites. This is from artist Peggy Carr. She had a studio in Dover, and this is the press glass method. This is a rather a stable scene with the animals and whatnot. And this is a square, I believe it is 10 by 10. You're supposed to put it in front of a votive or in front of the sun or whatever to see more. There's a couple versions of this and you'll get to see them. Again, if you have questions, you may want to use the chat to ask and I'll try to answer them. So this is from El Salvador. This is very typical of nativities in South America and somewhat in Mexico, but mostly in Central and South America, which include the idea of mystery. They're actually called misterios, meaning that the incarnation in and of itself is a mystery. And so they are in containers of all sorts that you open to reveal what's inside. And what's inside is usually a manger scene or Holy Family. So I believe there's 2 shots of this. Yeah, this is a hollowed out gourd set on little sort of sticks to elevate it. And I love the fact that the lid, what became the lid, has the shape of a star, and it's beautiful. It's carved on the outside and has the whatever holds it together is actually made out of leather. And so it's very, very rustic, as you can see. This is from Guatemala. This is actually bread dough. It is, the bread dough is without the crust, white bread literally is taken apart, made into something really soft and pliable, almost like plasticine. Glue and coloring are added, and then, you know, the artist makes the little figurines. This is from, again, you can't tell the scale. And one of the things that's not quite apparent, but that I really, really like is that it includes a cow, which is on the right, and a horse on the left, and which are decorated with flowers. And I just find that very charming. This is a trio of glass ornaments from the Bonner Company in the United States. These are 3 inches, and the Bonner Company makes all sorts of blown glass ornaments. They're quite famous for that, and this is lovely. I've seen it both in black and white and in blue. Again, this was a gift. So this is from Mexico as well. And I don't know, again, this is very hard to take a picture of. It is made out of tin, hammered tin. You cannot see the complete decorations that are on the outside and sort of the frame of it. And it's like it becomes a box, and all of the figurines fold down while the piece is open. Some of the things that I like about this is the coloring and of it. The donkey is pink, the cow is red, and so forth. It has not just a palm tree in the front, it has a palm tree with all sorts of dates on it and stuff like that. And you simply can't tell, but the angel is on a sort of a wire, and it can move around, sort of like fly around. So it's kind of fun. And this measures the outside edge of the box, probably is a 10 by 10. This is from the Ukraine. You will see a lot of similarities in this one and the type of painting, but it's a very stylized painting. You know, obviously very much hand painted, but just how the rest. There's a second shot. This is the back, and you can see how it's gilded. This ornament is actually quite large in as far as ornaments are concerned. I think it's almost 6 inches, which is really interesting. And so that's why it hangs by itself. It has its own ornament holder. I would never put this on a tree. It's too big. So this is an interesting one, also from Mexico. So this is made out of matchsticks. The figurines are. The little stable is made out of parts of it are wood, parts of it are clay. But what the artist did here was take these, and I don't know if they exist here, but they're very old-fashioned type of matches that the actual, what would be the stick part is actually this rolled up wax thing. And so what he's done is that he has taken that and unrolled it, which is to make the bodies and the costumes. And the little heads, as you can see, that's actually the striker. That's the match head right now. I love the little chicks there at the bottom. You know, there's like these tiny little sort of like 1/4 inch little chickies there. Very cute. Then very, very rustic. So here's another one of them. You can see that you would never believe that that they're made out of matchsticks. And one of the things that's fun that we do when we actually have the exhibit is that there's a scavenger hunt that's at 3 levels. Let me go back a little bit. And so I ask the kids, because this is very hard for kids sometimes to take in, to do the scavenger hunt, and so they have to find the different materials, and this is one that stumps them, or they have to find the different countries, or they have to find the different animals. The hardest one, I think, is the one by materials, because the materials sometimes are just fantastic. So this is, as it says there, the title is Flight to Egypt. It's a jute ox cart, and it's from Bangladesh. And jute is the fiber with which this is made. And this is actually, again, it's a pretty fantastic piece. It's probably 5 inches long. The bulls that are pulling it are really, really quite nice. And again, this is sort of found objects and whatnot. Now, the story of the Nativity, if you go from sort of beginning to end, would include stories, and I don't have too many of this, of the Annunciation, meaning of Mary finding out that she's going to bear the Son of God, all the way to Jesus's birth, the appearance of the Magi, and then Joseph is warned that he has to take the mother and child out of Bethlehem because Herod seeks to destroy them. And so that's what the flight to Egypt is. And there will be a couple of that. I think there's another question in the chat, Dave. You can take a look. Okay, another one from Mexico. I can't tell because I'm not pulling down the chat. How old are these? Are there any that are very old? Oh, I apologize. I thought you meant the questions. Okay, so yes, when one is very old, I will let you know. Most of these are probably, okay, so I'm not going to tell you when I was in high school, but you know, that's one referent. But you will see when age is an issue, I will let you know. This one is from Tlaquepaque, and if my relatives are on, they will know where that's from. This is made out of brass and copper, and the stable is made out of glass, which is kind of a contradiction in terms, because the figurines, especially the sheep and the animals that you see there, are solid and very, very heavy. And knock on wood, the little glass house has not been broken, but I always worry about that. Again, I notice that it's very, very stylized depiction that I think very beautiful. Okay, so here is a close-up of some of the detail. Yeah. Aha. So from all of our exhibits, which is probably go back a decade, this is hands down the most popular one I owned. It was a gift from a dear friend who visited Alaska, a bucket list for me. Again, this is one where this whole idea of the incarnation across cultures comes to the forefront, right? Because here, this is, you know, I could say that this is from the United States, yes, but ethnically, culturally, it's from a very, very different place. It is charming, it is sweet, and it is very different in the sense that it includes, you know, obviously an igloo for the stable, and the animals are polar bear, a walrus, a seal, and a puffin, which you can't see from here, but you can see from there. There is the puffin right by baby Jesus. And it sits on, yes, bear skin. So that's the, that sort of adds, I think, adds to the charm of it. The artist signed this piece, and her name, she goes by the name, at least artistically, of Windsong. This is a set that comes from Kenya, as you can see, and it is made primarily from banana leaves, dried out banana leaves and wire. It's a little bit difficult to see because of the color. The stable is there as part of the set, but it packs into it as well. Part of what I like about this one is just how expressive the figurines are. And I know it's hard to see, but the king making the offering on the right-hand side, how Joseph is carrying his staff, and how the donkey is really a little pack mule right there. This might help us to see a little bit. But again, these are pretty much found objects. The artist takes what they have at hand to create and to tell the story. So I said this is a Greek inspired because it's was not made in Greece, but it is inspired by Greek, or I should say Eastern iconography. And that means that these are not painted, icons are not painted, they are written, and they follow very, very strict rules. And I can point out some of them very, very quickly. You see that Mary and Joseph, where they hold their hands, are pointing towards Jesus. Jesus is blessing us. And there is the symmetry there. They actually calculate the distance between the figures, and you see that it makes an inverted triangle. In this one, if you can see, I don't know if you can notice, one other thing that's interesting is that Joseph has his name written in English, but Mary and Jesus have that in Greek characters. That just denotes a little bit more of their, how special they are to the story. This is just a real pretty nightlight. And so there it is, into just sort of something sweet. This is from Poland, as it says, and it is just, again, corn husks, dried out corn husks. And it's the way it has been made is just a very, very simple presentation. What I like about this one is that it seems like they're holding hands, you know, and it makes for a very sweet presentation. And again, you can't tell the scale, but it's probably about no more than 3 inches high. Again, another one from Peggy Clark. This is a roundel, and this depicts the flight to Egypt all over again. And again, this is, if I didn't mention it before, she uses the pressed glass technique for her glass work. This is from Argentina, and again, you know, these are not, these photographs were not set up, you know, as a, how can I say this? I'm just trying to explain why you can't quite see it. But if you look closely at the different color wood that is used, it makes kind of a puzzle, and the word, and it spells out the word from the left to the right, Alleluia. And it's just a real fascinating way to use sort of like these inlays of different types of wood or whatever to represent this in a triptych. Again, that comes from Argentina. Okay, so this is, and you can't quite see it in all its glory, but this is the Waterford crystal. And extraordinarily heavy. This actually stands up because, you know, Waterford can be very, very heavy. It's a beautiful piece. It shines gorgeously. And then I believe it came from England, that it was purchased in England, but I know that Waterford is in Ireland. So I will leave it up. It came from the British Isles, and we will leave it at that. So look at how fun this is. This is a series of flower pots. And I believe it may have been a Girl Scout project. I'm not entirely sure, but I just thought it was too charming to pass up. And here it is. So this is Amish, and again, Amish would be American or German American, Amish American. And again, it is not that the Amish did it, but it is Amish inspired. So that means that it reflects or represents the values that we know of the Amish people. First and foremost, they have no features. Facial features that would be considered against the commandment against graven images. But that doesn't mean that it isn't beautiful. Notice in this one how the men wear the particular kinds of hats and the women all have bonnets. One of the things that I like about this, and not just the quilts, which carry the star pattern, which is important to them also, but that the three wise men bring very different kinds of gifts. They bring bread, corn, and, wait a minute, what was the third one? I think it's a chicken. Hang on just a second. It is, now I'm going to have to look it up. It is eggs. That's what it was. It wasn't the chicken. And here you can see one, see that much more up close. Then this is another great gift, and just sharing it like that. So here comes another one that's from the US, but from Puerto Rico. And we know it's from Puerto Rico because what was essential to their story was the flag. And so several of the figurines have the Puerto Rican flag included in it. What I like about this one also is the hats that Mary and Joseph are wearing to indicate that they are definitely peasants. This is Snow Babies Lennox from the United States. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with them. This is just, again, a sweet and charming type. This is from India. It's inlaid soapstone, and it's a box. And again, very, very, again, rough, maybe crude, but the beauty is in the tool work. They're working with stuff that's very, very hard and to manage. And these are just little chips of shell that they're using to inlay into the box. And again, just a nice type of souvenir. This comes from Poland, and there's several from Poland that are just a little bit, I don't want to say just sort of very plain, but very compelling in their own way. You can see that somebody, you know, sat and probably did a couple of woodcuts, you know, sat in and sort of, I don't want to call it whittling, because whittling is a certain kind of thing, but you can see that it was put together. The way it was put together is kind of sweet. Again, one of the fun ones. This one's from Jamaica. The staple is in the back. It is a hollowed out coconut shell. How fun is that? And characters here, the little figurines, are almost without features, and yet they're still very, very expressive. I can't quite tell you what the headdresses and so forth are like, but clearly they're very important. Now I have two pictures of this, and one of the things that you're going to see that ends up being kind of fun is that because we don't actually know how they get set up, they get set up differently every year. And one of the tasks that I have, because there's different people, and some of you are on this call, thank you, unpack them, and then I go around setting them up the right way. So this one has Joseph, it's from a different year, it has Joseph in the right position. I struggle to tell you what it is that Joseph has in his hands, but there he is. And again, just a lot of fun. This one is, again, somebody bead. It is a triptych kind of thing that opens up. It's a full scene with the angels, the shepherds, the animals, and of course the Holy Family and the star. And the panel is very, very sheer paper meant to shine a candle through it. Speaking of candles, this is one from Party Light. Again, it was a gift, and this is just an example of a very sort of polished type of a nativity scene. These pieces are quite large. The angel, I believe, is almost 10 inches tall. Again, the final one from Peggy Carr. This is the full scene. So we had, I have a smaller one, right, that has just the manger scene, not the manger scene, the Holy Family or whatever, but this one now includes the shepherds and the magi. There's a little bit of reflection there on the left, so you can't quite see the shepherd completely. They're very difficult to photograph. This is, I think, 9 by 12, quite large, but very beautiful. They look beautiful in the sunlight. Again, another favorite. So I call this one, he has the whole world in his hands, because it is God's hands. Who knows, but that's what it looks like. And the most notable thing about this one is obviously the hands, but also that there is baby Jesus, but naked. And when have you thought of that? I like the fact, there's another one, more of a close-up. I like the fact that it looks like both Mary and Joseph are either sleeping or resting or with the baby and the animals, while the angel seems to be singing them a song. You can also very much see the Inca or Andean type of headdress. And I just love this. This whole piece, let me go back, is I think maybe 2 inches across, so it's really tiny. This is a piece from the Holy Land, a quite complete one. I have several of them. There's another question in the chat. And what I want you to notice, that because they're mixed up together. But what I would like you to notice is how different they are, each from one another. So the artists, you know, this is one of the ways that they sustain themselves in the Holy Land, by making things like this out of olive wood. And each one of them brings their own personality to what they are carving. And I particularly like this one. This is just a cute one. Obviously, it's a little windmill that actually works when you put the candles in it and the little paddles go round. I can't say that it's from Germany, but I do have other things from Germany that look like this, so it is German inspired. That's what we're saying. So this is a pretty awesome crochet nativity. It is, well, as you, I crochet, but I don't think I have used a needle that's this small. The work is not only really intricate. Look at the camel on the right, and the blue. I mean, there's just so much that has gone into this, and you know, there's so many of these little characters and whatnot. And this had to have been a labor of love. I wish I could tell you more about this, but this was a rescue from a not a flea market, but from a sale, and you know, it was at a thrift shop that one of the churches had. And again, a colleague of mine came up and handed me this in the bag and said, you know, do you want to have this? I'm not sure. It might be trash. There are a couple of questions in the chat, Dave. Oh, okay, because I see 4. Okie dokie. Sorry about that. Anyhow. Okay, so this is, we talk about, are there any of them old? This is an American dime store classic from the 50s. Depending on who's on the call, you might have had one of these as a kid. The figurines are made of plaster. They're glued down. The star is there, used to hang. At some point, it's kept there. It's lost a lot of its glitter, as you can see. For all I know, I mean, this is literally one of those, probably came from Woolworth, cash and carry. So it is just one of those interesting things. And so we keep it around. A gift from somebody who collected stamps and then decided to enter into this kind of a craft. She made dishes. This is from 1975. This 1975 Christmas stamp. There's another view of its mother and child. Okay, so I wish I could tell you who the artist is from this. This is a beautiful piece. I'm now even, the name of it is gone out of my head. It is a quite large piece. It probably weighs 10 pounds. And how I came to get this was that it was sent to the church. In fact, it was sent to many churches as a promotion to get them to buy more statues. And apparently they believed that St. Gregory's was a Catholic church, and that we had statues, but they didn't want it back. So I kept it. Right now, a lot of my information is actually packed in some of those totes. So that's why I don't have the information about who the artist is for this. But yeah, it is big and it is heavy. Again, another one from the Holy Land. See how different it was from the other one? The other one was all angles, and this is all very polished type of presentation, the Holy Family. Very, very just sort of compelling, but also there's just almost modernistic in its presentation. So this is from El Salvador, and This is an interesting, it's very colorful and again, very modern looking, you know, again, very, very different. And it says there it's enamel on wood. I'm not sure that that is okay. I think it's lacquer on wood. But it polished to such a high degree that it almost looks like enamel. It's a beautiful set, and this was a gift from somebody who was actually culling and downsizing their own collection of nativities. So that's all I know about that. But I love the Lego. I think it is a goat in the colors of orange and blue and cream. This is from France. And I only know that because that's what the tag says. And though as soon as I see it, it looks very French to me. I don't know why. I think it's because it's the sort of the what's on the Mary's head and just how it comes across. Very sweet. Again, tiny. Speaking of tiny, okay, so this is from Mexico. Again, I bought it from the person who made it, a basket weaver. And in basket weaving, the smaller you go, the more it costs. Very, very, very hard to make something like this tiny. Baby Jesus, I think, measures 1/2 inch. So this is a very, very, very tiny scent. So again, in quotes, Irish. I don't think it's Irish at all, and I'm not sure why it looks so stark, but there you have it. This is just somebody's idea of what the Irish people would have put together in their nativity. I kind of think it looks Druid, but there you have it. Again, the whole idea of a mystery, and this is inside, the mystery is inside a bell. And this is the characters are very, very tiny. Okay, so this is from Peru, and this is called a retablo. And that means just something that, a series of stacked figurines that they're also holy images. This one's unusual in terms of its size because I think it's almost, I don't know if I have that. How high it is, but I think it's almost 5 inches high. So that makes it really, really large. And then of course it closes like a box on it. And notice it has 4 tiers and the tiers are ranked. The angels spoke to the shepherds who were next, and then the message got to the wise men, and finally everybody came to the Holy Family. So here are the angels. It's very rustic. These are the shepherds. Here are the wise men and the Holy Family. Another one made out of corn husk, but this one's from Mexico. This is, again, very, very tiny. I bought it from the girl who made it. She dyed the corn husk in different colors. And I had this in a window, which is not something I should have done because it's lost a lot of its sparkle. Well, no, not the sparkle, but the color of the corn husk. It faded in the sun. This is from Italy, a gorgeous piece, clearly, you know, with sort of European sensibility. All of the gilding that's there is done by hand. Very, very pretty. But the piece itself is 1.5 inches tall, so it is very tiny. Again, oh, you can, I suppose you can see in the screws there. Again, that's how you end up having so many, because they're very, very tiny. This is from Chile. It was a gift. I have no idea why they decided to put it in a bottle, but there you have it. So this is one of several I have in a nutshell. And because I don't have access to them, I can't tell which one is from where, although I believe this one is from France because the figurines are made out of wood and not clay. But again, it's half of a walnut shell, as you can see. This is a card from Puerto Rico. The artist is Puerto Rican. And it is kind of a fun kind of thing because it's the only version of Jesus underwater that I have. There is Jesus on a shell, and he is being visited by the three aquatic kings. So one is on the left in pink, one is on the right in green, and one on the bottom in orange, if you can't make them out. Very, very stylized. And one of the things that I like about this is that Jesus has a heart that you can see, and that it's underwater. Okay, this is probably, again, one of the tiniest tiny. Okay, so this is set, and we only have a front of this picture. You don't have the side of this picture. This is set in in the cap of a hazelnut kind of thing, those little things that you wander around. So it's probably, the whole thing is probably 1/2 inch across or in diameter. And so all of the figurines are very, very tiny. It's a hollowed out gourd. Again, with no embellishments, although you'll notice in many of these, one of the things that when I talk about what needs to be, what is important for the artist, say Jesus always ends up in a little bed of cotton. So there you go. That seems to be one of those important things. This is a miniature. It's Lenox, gilded, and again, this is about 1.5 inches tall. You'll see this a couple of times. It's just a sweet one, but pay attention to the cow. We're going to see him pop up again. This is just a fun cookie tin that I came across and decided I needed to have. I don't remember what kind of cookies were in it. So this is another mystery, Misterio. And so there they are, the Holy Family of the Animals, and they're inside the thing. This is sort of a knockoff Fabergé egg. They are, it's again, very, very, very pretty. A little Misterio from El Salvador. This is probably 1 inch across. I don't know how they managed to pack in so much. This is ebony from Tanzania. And they are obviously, again, I'm going to try to use the word whittle, but it's not whittling. Somebody, spent the time and just both made all the markings and then polished and polished and polished this wood to give the figures, so a sense of relief, so that it's in 3D. It's just a beautiful piece, very different. We had just another one from Mexico. This one, I don't know if my sister's on the call or not, but my sister made this one for me, and it's they're bean bags, but they actually, I think they are filled with mustard seeds. And if she were on, she can tell us how long ago she made it, because I just don't remember, but it's a beautiful set. Oh, remember they said the cow. So here's a foot bombing cow in a little walnut shell. So this is definitely it's probably from Mexico. There she is. There's my sister. Yeah, I just love Susan? The foot bombing cow in the walnut shell. I think it's a riot. Again, another Misterio. A tiny little, a beautiful egg in a tiny little Holy Family on the inside. So this is a more elaborate piece. It's called the Tree of Life, and it pulls into this, and it's terracotta. It pulls into it a lot of actually, I don't want to say Aztec, but it is sort of, that's where it begins, mythology. And because the hummingbird at the top, and that's what it is, a hummingbird, was considered to be the connector between the life and death. The stylized, and those are marigolds. And if you saw the movie Coco, you will see and how that shows up in the Day of the Dead. The butterflies are also just sort of that whole idea of sort of birth and death in the same piece. And the bottom are stylized poinsettias, which also are the gift of Mexico to the world, especially at Christmas. And again, have its own thing. So, and then this has the two other kinds of birds on them. And so it is sort of this idea about the incarnation and about life, but not just in the middle of nature, but in a very significant way that nature points to both life and death, but also how the sort of different beliefs come together in one place. I just find this a fascinating piece. This one is probably like 6 inches tall. This is a shell. You can't tell it's a seashell because it's so decorated. It almost looks like a confection. And I think that that's part of the thing. There's something to convey something very, very sweet. Again, this is, I believe, from Lennox. This is from the Philippines. They are bottle brushes, very, very coarse brushes that an artist has now put together in this and sort of created this nativity scene. And we have, I think it's just a beautiful thing, and it has a great creativity in it. Now, again, it was a gift, and the person who gifted it to me, I was just so thrilled because it had such unusual animals. It has a skunk and it has a squirrel, as you can see. Not to scale, but that has never bothered me because, again, when you craft things are crafts like this, you know, they're not always to scale. But the woman laughed and said, "No, I found those here and I just added them." So I look every once in a while, I look to see if there are other bottle brush animals out there that I can add to this collection. Another very tiny one from Peru, although you don't know that. This is 3/4 of an inch tall. It is tiny. But in this one, baby Jesus is dressed, or at least has something over his privates. Just another sweet one from El Salvador. An interesting one from Haiti. This is on metal and wood. And I just, again, fascinating what the artist chose to include. Obviously, you know, it's very, very rustic. The Holy Family are clearly peasants. Notice that Joseph is in jeans kind of thing. I mean, they were work pants. I just love that Mary has very full breasts. And yet here come these kings all the way to them. And this one also noticed that the stable is actually looks like a log house with a thatched roof, and I like the horned lambs in the front. Another tiny little misterio and a little paper mache ornament thing. Here we are. Okay, so this one's from Uganda. And the picture isn't terribly clear, but I wanted to include it. What an amazing piece. Now, the figurines are set in place. It is made out of clay and wood, as you can see, and it is fascinating to me what got included here. And so again, as you can see, to scale, it is probably not because the animals, I mean, one seems to be a sheep, but the other one looks like it could be a bull, but you know, then it would be much, or you know, a cow or something that should be larger. So I'm not going to worry about that. But the faces are so expressive and they're smiling. Look at the guy in the back on the left. He just seems to be like overjoyed. I can't tell. He might be one of the three kings because they have things in their hands, although I can't identify what the things actually are, and they have different headdresses. See the different headdresses. Now on the left hand side, I wasn't sure if maybe one of them, you know, what the different characters are. I just love also the fact that the one who I think is a shepherd actually has a spear. How about that? And yet here they are. You can't quite see Jesus in this particular photograph, but I just or the stable, but I find it again just very, very compelling, right? And anyhow, I just love the expressiveness on their faces. Tiny little one from Mexico, and this is from northern Mexico. And so for those of you who have seen a lot from the ones from Mexico, you'll notice that this one is very, very different in presentation. This is a beautiful water globe, and it plays music and turns. So it's a really pretty one. And there it is, it's a close-up of the inside. Very traditional. This is, many of you may know of the books of Tommy Di Paola. He died, I think, this year. And this is an ornament, again, flight, the flight to Egypt. Is there something in the chat, Dave?
No.
Okay. I thought I saw John on the call. This is from Egypt. Again, flight from Egypt, meaning that Joseph is taking them to safety in Egypt, according to the story in Matthew. So notice this is on papyrus. Yep, they still make papyrus. How about that? And notice the pyramids in the back over there, and the Nile in the back. That sort of situates it for us. Notice that Joseph is shown with almost white hair, this belief that Joseph was older, much older than Mary. This is painted with Eastern sensibility, does not quite follow the rules of iconography, but as you can see, there's a flatness to the way things are painted, not quite 3D in shadow. And that's why you have the wonderful face on the donkey. So it's like, you know, that's the only way to portray him. I love also that Mary is very much a multitasker here. She's got the reins, she's got the baby, and looks like she's riding side saddle. How about that? Anyhow, this is a lovely, lovely gift from John. This is a Jim Shore piece. Again, many of you might recognize the name and might recognize his work as an artist. I have a couple of pieces from him. This is from France. It's pewter over wood. And again, this is about, the whole piece is about maybe 5 inches high. And it is, I love what you can glean from sort of these French pieces. You know, they have very high foreheads, you know, the hat that he's wearing, the pinafore that Mary is wearing, I just think are just sort of what comes across. So nice and so sweet. This is made out of stamped pewter from Mexico. And here's one of the fun ones. And if Ampy is on the call, she's responsible for this one. Yes, rubber duckies, the whole complete set. Now, and I love it that, you know, Jesus is just a duck. What I can't quite make out is, how do you have a cow duck and a lamb duck and a donkey duck? That's just, I don't know, a little too strange, but there we are. And there's the cow in the back. Thank you, MP. It's a tiny little set, very, very stylized, that fits in the matchbox. And this is one of I blame Dave for this one. So this is a modern or whatever nativity scene, and it's the hipster nativity scene. And it is every cliche that you can imagine about modern life is there. It captures a sort of moment in time. There's a couple of pictures of this. So the guys are here on their, the kings are delivery guys. He's on his iPad. Mary over there looks like she's a little out of it. The baby looks normal, thanks be to God. But yeah, they're taking selfies or I don't know what. Anyhow, this was fun but controversial. What can I say? There are the other guys. This is just a paper one. This is a shelled one from China. And I have a couple from China, and I know that a lot of things get done in China. But I think this is one of the two that actually is supposed to have Chinese sensibility in it. So which is why I included it. Another one from Mexico. This I included because this is the one, the first one for my kids. And it came from a thing called Christmas Around the World. It's completely, absolutely 100% durable plastic. And it needed to be durable plastic because they used to play with this. I can't even tell you how. This one's from France. Again, I love that it is, again, it just shows that the not to scale. I think the little doves or ducks are there. They're huge compared to everything else, but it just makes for a charming scene. This is from Italy, and this belonged to Tom Coulter. And Tom Coulter was in World War II, and this is one of the things that he brought back with him. And you know that Tom was very, very religious man, and just a wonderful, this is a wonderful memory, and I am very honored to own this. And so we will date it to 1940 or the 40s, somewhere when he was there. This is properly from Ireland. And I was trying to figure out what it says on the front and trying to spell it out, and I could not make it out. So if any one of you knows, you can let me know. This one I think is just a commercial one, but one of the reasons why I included it and why I liked it, because again, where people tell the story, this is the only one that I have that actually includes deer. And there's a fawn and a baby, and so I just wanted to include it for that. There are no camels on this one, but there is a horse. Another one from Mexico, set in a very large jug. So the jug is quite large, probably 8 inches, maybe even 10 inches high, but the nativity is smaller than that. There's a beautiful one, colored one from Lenox, and so I have one that is in white, but this one shows up so much better. And of course, it's a beautiful piece. And those that are on the call that have helped me set up know that this one is particularly difficult to put away. It has its own boxes, and they're very, very difficult to do. So this was a special a while back, I'm going to say maybe 5 years back, something called rainbow links, which are little rubber bands, became very, very popular. And so Madison Keith made this for me one year. And so there they are. So what Joseph, just so that you can get the scale, what Joseph is holding as his staff is a Q-tip. So this is a really interesting one, and I actually was trying to get this on here, but I couldn't. So this is from a Louisiana artist named Hank Schlaw, and he has he makes religious icons called, and he runs a company called the Company of Saints. I wish I had the card for this because he talks more about why he included what he included. But this is a fascinating book. So there is Joseph, and Mary is kind of hunched over the baby. But what really makes it interesting is that this one has a dog, it has a rabbit, it has a cat with actual kittens. It has a duck and a pelican and an owl. Some of those are part of religious iconography. Some of them are not. And I don't have the card in order to look into that. If you see where this donkey or horse is, you can see the right-hand side at the bottom, you can see the cat with kittens, and it almost looks like the baby Jesus is being entertained by those little kittens. Just very, very interesting. This is made out of composite with a copper finish. He grinds up copper and then overlays it. So I included this one, even though it's only one. So this was this is a full set of ornaments. So it's Jesus, Mary, Joseph, kings. And I believe it includes at least one animal. They're blown ornaments. They're about 3 inches high. And this woman that I know bought them, she loved them, and then put them away. She bought them in the 60s, and then I found them in a closet, and then decided that I needed to have them because I would take care of them. So there you have it. This is a paper mache piece from India. It's about 4 inches high, and it is just interesting. It sort of looks like they're sailing away on this star. This is I included it simply because I know nothing about it. A woman knocks on the door of the church and says, "You're the one that collects nativities?" And I say, "Yes." And he says, "Here, I found this. Would you like to have it?" And how could I say no? Again, another one from the Holy Land. Completely different interpretation. This is 3 separate pieces, very, very stylized. I love the hands on this one. Mary's hands seem to be in prayer. Joseph, just this little hint of something on his chest. Just a beautiful way to handle the wood. So here's my sort of junky one from Mexico. Again, I don't even know that this is several trips to the market buying different things, and it includes silly things like there's a crocodile in there, there are fish, there's birds, there is a snake that you can't quite see, and so forth. Nothing is to scale, but that doesn't matter because the whole idea is that the whole of creation, including the devil, by the way, well, you'll see a peek of him in a minute, shows up to pay homage. So the devil, you see where this sort of the man in the Arab headdress, the devil is actually blue. I don't know why I decided to buy a blue devil with and very strange blue and red wings. That's the devil. He's actually bedeviling the holy man. I don't know. I'm not saying that it makes sense, but I'm just saying it makes for a lot of fun. This one came from Bali. Again, it's sort of very, very spare. It doesn't include Joseph. Oh, yes, it does include Joseph. What am I talking about? He's right there. What I like about it, though, is how Mary is smiling, but also saying, like, look, here's Jesus with her hand. And I love the baby or the little angel, anyway, with a star as a crown. Is made of wood. This is from Switzerland, I believe. Again, maybe Germany, but I think it's Switzerland. And just a very sweet piece. Another one from India. Now this is very interesting. These are all enameled boxes. every single one of these pieces opens up, I believe. And you see just how beautifully gilt they are, and a lot of adornment on them. Just very, very pretty. Another one from Mexico. This is from Kenya, and you take a sip of water. So this is obviously tribal, for lack of a better way to talk about it. The wood is ebony and very highly polished, and then carved and decorated. The markings mean something. I don't exactly know what they mean, but they mean something. They're all, I'm going to imagine, point to holiness of some sort. And to me, again, what I love about this is just, you know, how real Jesus is to those two real people that are there. Very, very, very different from any kind of other sort of European kind of interpretation. But yeah, here you are. These figures are actually larger than what you think. I think they're about Mary and Joseph are probably around 6 inches tall, and baby Jesus about 5 inches. Just another little sweet. See, here you go. Just go from one to the next, and it's just so different the way you tell the same story. So it's from Indonesia. Again, they're very tall and slender, and have their features, what would be their cheekbones seem to be wide, and I love the elongated eye. Very, very detailed lips. Very pretty. Hand-painted wood. This is just a one that came from a craft that was made, but I love it. Again, I believe this is a Lenox also. This is from Italy. And of course, I just love the cactus. Yeah, it just makes it very compelling that way. So this is a very interesting and important piece. It's from Germany. It's quite large, all of it. There's about 20 odd pieces that involves the palm tree that you can't completely see is probably 10 inches high. The stable is probably 15 inches across. It is all carved, hand, not carved, it's machine carved, but all hand painted. And some of the pieces are articulated so that you can move the arms and the hands and so forth. And it is very, very delicately put together. Just an awful lot of detail that went into it. My story about this one we've exhibited times, many times, obviously, but, one time it was on its own on the altar, and a woman came in and she broke down in tears when she saw it, because she said it reminded her of the kind of work her brothers did growing up. And so I said so tell me more about that. I love the story, to know about the story. And she really couldn't, because she realized later what she was trying to say is that her brothers were lost in the war. And I am going to surmise that they were on the wrong side of the war from our point of view. And so she doesn't really know what had happened to her. This is the only one of my nativities that includes an elephant. And if Kathy is still on the call, she will know and laugh. Here's a close-up of Mary and Joseph, and I almost didn't include this one, but I ended up including it because that in the manger is not Jesus. It's a little lamb. But one year we lost Jesus in all of the packaging, and we couldn't find him, so we put up the little lamb. But Kathy found Jesus. This is, again, a sort of a thrift market find. It is needlepoint, very, very large. It's probably 20 inches high. It's very hard to pack, but somebody spent a long time. And if you do needlepoint, it takes a while to get things like this done. I wonder sometimes what people are thinking as they're doing these things. So there's just a close up. And I love the fact that the little lamb is all a little fluffed out there, so it's fuzzy. Another Lenox piece. This is a gift from Mike and Barb's, who of course would give me the gift of music, and they're handbells. It's almost a scale. They're very, very sweet to play, but I don't like to encourage people to play them because then they would play them all the time. Again, a very stylized rendition. This is not a good picture, but it is a very beautiful ornament. Also, I think came from Mike and Barb. It is a Russian egg. Obviously, the egg is hollow. It is in exquisite detail. The hands, the faces, everything about this. And it is a bit of a mystery because it includes, among other people, it has the animals on the side, but it includes it on the right-hand side, 2 women. And in the story of Jesus, there are never 2 women together. If you know the story of Jesus's birth, only Elizabeth, her cousin, features. So we don't know if that's supposed to be Elizabeth there, but then who is the other woman? And we don't know. And I don't know a way to find out. Anyhow, this is another pressed glass thing, but this is not from Peggy. This is from a studio, a glass studio in South Jersey, glassmakers of South Jersey. This is just another sort of European style. I think this may be Italian, but I'm not sure, so I didn't credit it. This is miniature Goebbels from Germany. I'm pretty sure that you would be familiar with that. This is from Holland, Delft, China, and it is a very big piece. And notice the windmills in the back. Now, clearly there were no windmills for Jesus, but I love that they're included in this. This is another one from Ireland, and this is very, very, again, very stylized. And so I find it interesting that that it gets, that Ireland has sort of this very stylized sensibility. This is a huge paper cutout that is supposed to do 3D from Ted Nouse. And he's this very famous artist that does these. Another one from Mexico. I'm going to skip ahead because I'm going long here. This is from India, and talk about being interesting, just something from what you have at hand, not obviously, they chose to make it that way, but how do you make a nativity out of iron? The features are very interesting in profile, it just, again, this is just one of the sight to behold. This is a tiny matchbox from die cut from, it's from Germany, and I like it because of its size, but also because it has little rabbits in the front among the animals. And I love that sort of 3D kind of thing. This is an interesting retablo from Peru. See, it has a lot of people in it. Well, let's look at the people. They're mostly musicians. You see they're playing instruments as they arrive, and I find that wonderful. This is just another fancy one, sort of different interpretation. This is from Canada. It comes from a co-op, and if Jack and Carol are on, they're the ones that had it first, and then I had to buy one. This is produced by a cooperative of women in Prince Edward Island, and one of the things that they do, I think they do this to support themselves when the weather gets bad and the fishermen don't have much to do in the winter. So this is part of their craft work that they do. One of the charming things about this one is that it comes with 3 lambs, 1 black, 1 white, and 1 black and white. How about that? And these are quite large, quite tall. I think they're about 8 inches tall. Another one from Jim Shore, very large. And there's the detail from that. This is from Poland. It's little. It's probably about, I don't know, 3 inches. But what I like about this one is the copper halos and the stylized thing. But what I most like about it is the fact that you can see that Joseph is balding. You know, the way they created sort of like this balding pate is interesting. This is a beautiful one from Lennox also. Just a really sort of charming one. One from Thailand, and you can't see it too well. But what I find fascinating about this one is the features. And one of the things that's really, really important is that all of them, including the animals, have eyelashes. So that's one of those things that's really, really important, apparently, in Thailand. You have to have your eyelashes. This is from the Philippines. It's Ute also, but it seems almost like it's spun. It's just gorgeous. This is actually a little handbag. It was a gift, and it's all applique. And it is, I like it because it's mostly animals, and it's a lot of fun. Again, just sort of a different interpretation. Notice this. They have this is American produced. That's Dave's water globe from when he was a kid. I don't know. Is it 60 years old? Maybe. And now, so this is the Irish sensibility that you probably were expecting, right? Shamrock one. It's China with gilded with shamrocks. This came from Italy. This came from Guatemala. Notable, it is carved wood, and it is on what is called a mole cloth, which is an applique cloth that sort of resembles our quilts in the sense of the meaning that it has, the different meanings that are conveyed through it. This is just some stackable boxes, sort of an Amish kind of feel to it. But this one is just the way it presents itself. You know, it's a box inside a box inside a box. And this one includes a little drummer boy, among other things. So it's from Germany. It's cast bronze. This is really interesting. This is one of my favorites too. So this is from Kyrgyzstan, which used to be part of Russia, but now is its own country. It is made out of felt, and the stable is a yurt, a round yurt in which they live. What's interesting also about this one is that Jesus is a redhead, as is the angel. This includes also a beautiful yak in with it, and just wonderful horns on the ram. So again, these are the way that they have interpreted the story. This is from Uganda. And again, very, very expressive faces. This is not very large. It's made out of cloth and wire with a couple of, I think, other materials in there. But it has, what I like about this one is the headdresses and the kente cloth. I think it's called kente cloth. Another one from El Salvador. It's kind of really cute that Jesus is on a big old banana leaf. And there's a llama included in this one. Just again, another one from Mexico. This is again sort of following the rules of iconography. And this one has all sorts of stuff in it, but it's probably too long to get into right now. This is just a real silly one. It's rocks. Rocks from Staten Island. The youth group in the church there made a nativity out of them, and I thought that was cool. Another one from Mexico, a little squished. It has salamanders all over it. It's a hollowed out gourd. This is a matchbox that actually plays Silent Night. It is a music box, and I wouldn't begin to tell you how small the set is. It goes around. So this is another interesting one. So this is another big one. It's called, from a company called Buyer's Choice, which are from Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania. That woman, the owner, used to make puppets and then started making these dolls. You may have seen her work. She does a lot of carolers and things like this. If you go to her factory where she makes these things, it is an amazing place. And she also collects nativities, but she has her own museum, and it is well worth the trip. So I believe there are about 15 pieces to this one. I don't know that we have them all. Again, these are from different years. And again, I think this is another one where we've lost baby Jesus more than once. Here are the wise men. It's a tiny little misterio in a star. This one is from Russia. What is interesting about this one, I think, is how it's painted. So the values, right? The eyes are very, very blue and very, very wide, and this little dot sort of painting that they have. And I noticed that it's sort of like covered in butterflies, so it is, very, very pretty that way. This was a gift. It was somebody made. So this is somebody made in their shop. I don't think Jeannie is on this call, but a friend of hers made it and she gave it to me. I like this one because it includes the citation from Luke and just how the words love are all incorporated, or the words are incorporated into the figurine. So love is in Mary, and peace is in the baby, and joy is in Joseph. This is from Nepal. Again, it's straw and bamboo and just all sorts of different materials. I just love, it's just so very coastal, it looks like almost, but the baby is in a hammock. How about that? It's just another ornament. So this is wax, and it is made from leftover wax candles, from the stumps of wax candles from the nuns over at the community St. John the Baptist in Mendham. And so that's one of the things that they do with their old candles. It used to smell beautifully because it's beeswax. I love this one. So I call this one the vegetarian Jesus, because see how it says, for unto us a child is born, this, Jesus Christ our Lord. And yet there isn't a human being other than Jesus in this little thing. It is all about the animals. So I call this the vegetarian one. So another gift, a tiny little music box. It goes around. This is from Vietnam. These are tiny pieces of stone that have been carved into the shape of the figurine. So Jesus is about maybe a ½ inch. You can see the basket in the back. All of the pieces fit or came in that basket. And again, stuff is not to scale. This is one interpreted as an Advent wreath. A tiny little egg from Peru. This is German lace. And these are very, very beautiful, done in lace. This came from Madagascar. And again, just so fascinating. It's just, you just don't, I don't know, just very, very different. The bowler hat on what I believe is Joseph, the fact that the cow is a Cebu cow, it's a particular kind of, yep, there he is. The fact that the shepherd is a young boy. These are the things that are, terribly important to you. This is how they see themselves in this story. It did not come with a stable, so we tend to put it in a stable, but this is how it came. It's obviously carved out of wood. This came from Bangladesh. It is sort of like a little book that opens and closes. In fact, sometimes it's very, very hard to keep it open. And it is made out of just slices, very thin, paper thin slices of wood, and assembled to look 3D. I love how they've included their interpretation of what Bethlehem ought to have looked like, because it certainly, I don't think, looks like that in Bangladesh. And Italian. This is, again, my flight to Egypt. This comes from Mexico, and I love this piece, and this has been through the ringer. So from Russia, again, very stylized, and that sort of like little dot type painting. Another one from Nepal, but this one made out of cloth. And I'm just including, we're literally at the end. These are just some of the, so this is where we started. We used to put it in the church, and those of you from the church that are, we used to move all the pews out of the way and try to fit it all in. And it kept growing. And that's why we moved next door to the Smith Baldwin house. And it became this over the years. We fill up 4 rooms with the nativities. I did not include pictures of the cookies because it would always make our mouth water, but we have about 20 different types of cookies, but you can see. So thank you for hanging in and being here tonight and watching this all over again. If you have any questions, you can open it up for questions. If not, I'm just so grateful that you joined, that we were able to do Cookies and Crèches after all.